Hey, what's going on, guys? Vinnie here from CreationAstronomy.com and Creationist Company, here with my brother Joe.
Welcome to the Creation Astronomy Now podcast, the show that is now announced the smartest show ever to rise out of primordial soup.
Or so the skeptics say. But we don't think so. And today we're going to be talking about just that. Is life on Earth an accident? See, this is there are a lot of different arguments. Like, there's the age of the Earth argument. There's the argument of whether it happened with evolution or whether it was created. You know, I think it all comes down to three main arguments. Did God create the universe? How did He create the universe? And when did He create the universe? And obviously, if He did create the universe, then all the other two questions come in. But
yes,
we're going to be talking about the first one. You know, could life on Earth be an accident? You know, this is kind of, you know...
No, not at all.
This is kind of like in the creation versus evolution community, there's kind of a bit of controversy over whether the proper term is life being an accident. Because, you know, we got people like Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. They like to change the way they represent it. They like, you know, we're something special even though we came from soup, or, you know, we're the leftover bits of stars that died years ago for us. You know, all this stuff that they're just kind of trying to change it around. And oh no, it's not an accident. It's science.
Mm-hmm.
What we're gonna talk about, is it science? So let's look at since this is the Creation Astronomy Now podcast, we're going to look at this from an astronomical point of view. And hopefully this will be one of the better episodes of the Creation Astronomy Now podcast.
Hopefully so.
Of course, a year from now we'll say, wow, we've really gotten better.
Yeah.
I hope we say that anyway.
Well, naturally. Hopefully we don't say we're getting worse.
Unless, of course, we say, wow, we were really good back then. We're still
That'd
good.
be nice, too.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, let's begin at the beginning. Where would the beginning be?
Beginning of what?
I don't know, but beginning of what? I guess we should start at number 1. It's on the list. I don't know. I didn't have really any order in this. I just wrote it down, and Joey doesn't care, because all he does is edit the podcast, and I upload it to YouTube. Good team, good team. Okay, so first off, there's the atmosphere. You know, we most people consider the atmosphere to be the layer around the Earth, but we are actually, I believe, we're in one of the layers of the atmosphere. I'm not exactly sure. Okay, I'm not sure, but anyway, the atmosphere is responsible for the weather. It's responsible for keeping Earth at a sustaining the Earth's temperature. It's responsible for keeping the Earth's temperature from going from super hot to super cool. You know, we've got like Mars. It has little or no atmosphere around it. They say because it's just got too low a mass for it to be able to hold up.
Didn't they say that if they moved there, what they'd have to do is they'd have to build an atmosphere on it?
Yeah, they talk like they can do that. I don't.
But the thing is, isn't the atmosphere, when it's there, it kind of goes away. That's why it doesn't have an atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
It kind of just fades away to nothing. So they have to keep having to rebuild it.
Yeah, I don't know how they're planning on colonizing Mars. That's their deal. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with going there and exploring, because I believe that if we explore the cosmos, we will discover, hey, this had to be created. So I really have no problem with space exploration. I think that it's bringing glory to God, whether or not they intend it to be that way. But yeah, there's also the ozone layer. It's responsible for stopping large space objects from crashing into the Earth. You know, you like when you're during a meteor shower, what you're seeing is those rocks being burnt up, those space rocks, and you know the bigger the rocks, the longer they last. So if it weren't for the ozone layer, then
they just come right in.
Meteor showers would not be near as pleasant.
You'd want to have steel umbrellas.
Like meteor shower tonight. Get your umbrellas. Yeah. Also, without an atmosphere, we would not have the oxygen to breathe. You know, it's got to be the right blend. You know, with oxygen and obviously also there's the cycle. Like we as humans, we breathe oxygen and we put off carbon dioxide, and then the trees create oxygen from the carbon dioxide. It's a perfect cycle going on. It's really it's really well made, and in my opinion, that by itself would be enough for me to.
Yeah, I mean, everyone looks at that and you ask, when they ask Morgan Freeman, is there intelligent design? You know, does it look like there's intelligent design? What do you think? And he's like, the Earth does look like it was intelligently designed, but that does not mean there was a designer.
Which makes no sense. But then again, they don't really care. But let's not stop there, because they could say, hey, it's one planet out of billions of planets. There could probably be one out there as well. So let's move on to the moon. As we mentioned, last time we interviewed Dr. Don DeYoung, it was an amazing interview. I definitely recommend you
go check that out.
I'll link in the description, I guess, or you can go to creationstormynow.com, and it should be somewhere on the latest posts.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Shouldn't be too hard to find. Just search for it, because we got the nice search engine there.
Yeah. So, Vinny, the moon is responsible for the tides, so that's what stabilizes the seasons.
Well, it's responsible for the tides, and it also keeps the Earth tilted, because we have seasons because the Earth is tilted, it's not straight up.
Yeah.
And it was only found out recently that the moon is what's responsible for keeping that from going.
Yeah, and with that, we'd have insane weather.
Yeah, and if the moon was
about
too close,
like kind of what we're having now.
Yeah, if the moon was closer to us, then its gravitational pull would start making the Earth's seasons go off. It would go from super hot, super cold. It would get pretty crazy. We talked about that as well during the podcast, with the Majora's Mask equation. And I've got an article on that as well. You can check that out. But, we can't, the moon is the perfect size and the perfect distance. You can't have the moon any closer, any farther away. Because, I mean, we talked about it. The water plankton, plankton in the oceans are responsible for 40% of our oxygen. So if the moon didn't create tides, then the water would become stagnant, and water plankton would not be able to survive. All the fish would die, not good, and we would not have sufficient oxygen to breathe, so we would die too. The moon, it seems really small, but if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to survive, and if it was thrown off balance, we would all have a terrible fate.
Indeed.
And side note here, there's also we mentioned it a little bit last time. I'm not sure if we touched on it enough for some people to notice. There's also the recession of the moon, which generally deals more with we got the age of the Earth. How long ago was it created, or evolved, as the evolutionists would say. But obviously they have to have billions of years. However, the moon, it's been discovered that the moon is getting farther away.
Don't worry, it's only about a few inches a year.
Yeah, but...
so no big deal. We won't be having any problems with our weather too soon, hopefully.
If you go back, year after year, a million is a lot.
Yeah, it is. And once you get back
people don't realize, people like, millions of years ago, another million years ago, another million years ago.
Yeah,
they talk about it really lightly.
About 3 million years ago, the cavemen brought their kids out to see the moon ruts.
Look, the moon just went by. Of course, at that distance, it would not be able to get further away. But I believe it's 1.5 million years ago, the moon and the Earth would have been touching. And now they say, oh, the rate of the moon is not constant. You can't just go measuring it like that. Well, the thing is, we've good math, good science, good physics behind this idea, and that's pretty much what they come up with. A million years ago, the tides would have been crazy. All the land animals would drown twice a day. Not cool.
It doesn't work too well because you can generally only drown once a day.
So that's a little side note for that. So the moon, I would definitely say, it's
rather worthwhile.
It's good evidence that it was created. Because without the moon, we wouldn't be able to survive. But
everybody looks at that and they say, it's so amazing how it's put in the perfect spot,
Yeah.
They don't stop to consider that maybe...
Yeah, like lunar and solar eclipses, all eclipses wouldn't be able to happen. And I believe that that's because the moon's doing its job. It's It's part of the God created the stars and the moon for signs and seasons. So the moon's phases go over the course of a month. You know, the lunar eclipses mark every, I don't know, important events. You know, we can we can find out when lunar eclipses happened back then and figure out how to align different historical events because, you know, writers wrote about lunar eclipses. But if that's not enough for you, then we can talk about the sun. Everybody knows the sun is very important. And by the way, don't say that the sun is fire because it's not fire. You know, it's kind of interesting. You know, there's been some
plasma.
and, you know, there've been a lot of discoveries about how ordered the sun is. It's not. People used to think it was a. You know, the ancient people used to believe it was a polished sphere, and then they thought it was fire. But now they know it's a really complex. Well, it's a star, obviously. But yeah. Man, I hate it when I run out. I forget what I was saying. Oh man.
You don't know what to say. You just say so. Yeah.
Now, although you know, there's a lot of evidence about how the sun is important to life. We all know that. Without the sun, there'd be no life. But if we were too close to the sun, that would be bad. So this is known as the Goldilocks zone. Because, you know, you can't be too far, you can't be too close, you gotta be just right.
Yeah.
You know, they try to stretch it out, but the fact remains that Earth is the only planet that we know of that is the perfect distance from its star. And also the sun...
And Mars is just not quite...
Yeah, and also the sun, you know, there's not much evidence as far as it unique... You know, like... There's not overwhelming evidence that we could, you know, pile on, but there is quite a bit of evidence. For instance, is the fact that it's not very variable, which basically means that it doesn't have a lot of changing patterns. You know, a lot of stars, they'll go from, you know, their temperatures will go up and down a lot, and even like a few temperatures, like 6 degrees going back and forth, that can cause some bad effects for the planet. And, you know, there's radiation. The sun has minimum radiation.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the ozone layer is also responsible, I believe, for keeping some of the harmful radiation out of Earth.
And also, the sun isn't as strong as most stars are. You know, they have those solar flares.
Yeah.
That most stars, they shoot millions of miles into space. And if the sun shot out that far, we'd have a barbecue.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of evidence. It's just, there's like some things we know that the Earth doesn't have quite as much, I mean, the sun does not have quite as much nitrogen as some other stars, but we don't quite know yet if this is, if
y'all go live on the sun.
We have to go at night. Yeah, but I'm sure there will be a lot more evidence. You know, I'm excited to see what happens in the future. You know, what kind of new discoveries are made with this different stuff. But, you know, there's also the Earth's galactic address. There's not just its distance from the sun. There's, you know, there's also the position in the Milky Way. You know, it can't be too far out because then it would be, the solar system would be in danger of. And I'm not sure how to put it. There's a video on David Reeves Ministries. You should check that out as well. It's all about the galactic address. You just go to his YouTube channel. I'll put a link to the video in the description on YouTube, on Christian Astronomy Now. I mean, I'll put it in the description on Christian Astronomy Now.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. But, you know, also if it's too close to the center, it's believed by many that the center of the spiral galaxies is a black hole.
Yeah.
It's kind of like sustains the galaxies together. But if our solar system was too close to that, we might get sucked in. That would not be good. That would not be good at all. That'd be bad.
Have we done an episode on black holes?
No, we haven't. We're wanting to in the future.
We should do that sometime. Black holes are a very interesting topic.
Yeah, they are. But we did mention it a little bit in the interview with Danny Faulkner, only it was more dark matter related, because dark matter is kind of a subject which, in all honesty, I don't even know if many scientists understand it. You know, the scientists talk about it like they know, but, you know, you kind of wonder, do they understand it, really, or did they just know it? Apparently they don't understand it because they keep coming up with new stuff that sounds just as crazy, but, you know, I guess some of it's okay. Inflation is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The 10 to the negative 37. Quintillion of a quintillionth. That's pretty cool.
My thought exactly. You wouldn't want to be like those kids who every time you tell them something they say, I know, and
I know,
doctor. You know, the quintrillionth of a quintrillionth, and you say, I
know.
You're talking about dark matter. I know.
So many kids, like, that's about like what some scientists are. They're just like, I know. And then they go home and have to research it so that they really know. But yeah, even, you know, all this stuff we talk about, you know, there's the Earth's atmosphere, there's the galactic address, there's the sun, the moon, all this stuff is about, you know, is astronomy related, how our planet is unique from other planets. And true, there are thousands of millions of planets, probably even millions of billions of planets, because there are maybe seven sextillion stars, I believe, is how many are known, and a lot of those have planets around them. But none of these planets we found even match close to our planet. You know, none of the stars are quite right. They gotta have the moon just right. They gotta be in the right place for the galaxy.
Yeah.
There's just so many random factors that seem to point to there having to be a designer.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why Creation Astronomy now is out here.
I don't know, but if they're looking for life on other planets, they're going to be looking for a long time.
Speaking of life, you know, life itself is another of those factors. Because even if all these factors happen to happen by chance, which obviously they couldn't have happened from nothing, because that doesn't make any sense. But even if our planet was able to be created with perfect for life, there wouldn't be any life on it. Because there's no evidence that life could just arise. Scientists have been trying to do it in their laboratories, create life from nothing.
So once you got the planet there, then you have another problem. There's nothing to put on the planet. Okay, cool, we got a planet, we got nothing to put on it.
Yeah.
So,
you know, it seems obvious to me that there had to be a designer to not only create the planet, but create the life. And, by the way, that creator came to Earth 2,000 years ago to die for us, that we might not. Oh man, I'm not good at the salvation message. I don't know. I think I should like write it out, because I'm better at writing it out, and like put on Creation Astronomy now. Because really, that's why we do what we do. It's not just so we can have all these facts that you can use. It's not just so we can prove that we're right and you're wrong. We're not arguing for argument's sake. We're arguing because we believe there's something bigger on the line than people believing that they're accidents. We believe that.
Yeah.
In other news, it's almost Christmas time.
Yes, and you know what? We should design a Christmas shirt just for Creation Astronomy now.
Yeah, we should. Like what? What? Like,
I don't know. I'll think of one, I'm sure.
Like a planet with the Santa hat on?
I don't know.
Like a star of Bethlehem over the manger.
Yeah. I'll think about that.
Speaking of which, yeah, I'm always wondering, what is the Star of Bethlehem?
I don't know. You suppose it could be a star?
Maybe, maybe not.
It might have even been a planet, you know?
Or it could have been anything.
Could have been a comet.
We'll talk about that next episode for the special Christmas edition of the Creation Starting Now podcast.
And hopefully then we will keep out all the dead air.
Yeah, we'll try to. Joe's
Podcasts are hard, guys.
Just kind of off today because you were kind of trying to fight off a
I'm off. I thought you... Oh, yeah, that's too.
But, yeah, I'm trying to keep it fighting off. I drink plenty of water.
Water's important.
But, yeah, another news.
We should start a health podcast.
Water is important. Fat is good for you. People. What?
No, really, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah, people would be, like, crazy. But if they look at the science of it, they discover that we're right. Just like everything else. In other news besides the fact it's almost Christmas time. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas, by the way. I know it's kind of stressful doing this Christmas season.
Special Christmas podcast.
Yeah,
special podcast for Christmas.
I just said we're going to do that next time.
Oh. That's cool.
But anyway, speaking of stressful things, we've had to cut out the Creation Astronomy Now newsletter. I just wasn't... It's just costing too much right now at this moment. So instead I'm going to focus on creating some products, and I'm going to work on creating some cool events that maybe we can get some people over here to have some star parties, do some presentations.
Yeah.
We will just see, because this year's going to be pretty cool, I think. I'm not going to try to shoot quite as high maybe as this year, but I'm going to try bigger, not better. Or maybe it's better, not bigger. Or maybe both.
Both. Well, both would be
bigger and better. Except I'm not going to be going to the conventions this year, I don't think.
Which is a little bit of a disappointment, but there's hardly an income because you have to pay for your table, then you gotta pay for the gas to go there because we don't have conventions.
We're going to have a lot of products first before we go to some conventions. But we may go some places. I'm looking forward to it. I'm working. I may not release it, but I may have a calendar on Homeschooled Nerd on my WordPress blog that has all the events that we're doing this year, so you guys can know what's going on.
And maybe you can meet us.
That'd be really cool.
That would be very cool.
20 people that watch this. Also, like the 20 people who watch this to the end, because like if you've gotten this far, yeah, all right, you guys are good.
Doing a good job. Well, I think that's all we have to talk about today.
Yeah, pretty much anyway. I mean,
we covered the news, we covered the podcast. We now know that life on Earth probably isn't an accident.
And by the way,
and if it was indeed a very good accident.
Good accident, yeah.
Good.
Only we don't believe that. We believe that it was created with purpose. This podcast was created with purpose. You were created with purpose, and that purpose is to bring glory to God.
Because that's all that matters.
I actually said I actually was able to finish an entire statement.
Wow.
Without...
You didn't say, because you, us.
Okay. So, Christmas episode next time. Till then, take it easy. We are out.